Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another episode of the Dr. Will Show, where I interview educators and entrepreneurs on leveling up. Each episode, I someone who's dope, and we just sit back and have a conversation on how you can live your best life. Now, this is the Mobile University for Entrepreneurs, and I am your host, Dr. Will. Now, this is going to be a different set of questions that I have not done in this podcast. But before we get into that today, for those who be listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Supercast, Spotify, and Audible, today's guest is Michal Tapia, and we're going to be talking about how she got into consulting. We're going to be talking about her work. We're going to be talking about purpose and branding, identity, why her content on social is personal, at least for me, as I get from what I have seen on LinkedIn, and for you to get some additional gems for you to sit back, be more reflective of what you're doing, and level up your business. So let me stop chit-chatting on this interview, this introduction. And Michal, will you please introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Dr. Will. I am Michal Tapia. My pronouns are she, her, ella. I am a proud Latina, mom of three, first generation professional, doctoral candidate, and the founder of M.Tapia Consulting. My journey has been about more than just career shifts. It's been about reclaiming my voice, honoring where I come from, and creating spaces where people feel safe to be fully themselves. I also write a newsletter called The Courage Connection, where I share personal reflections and tools to help others lead, speak up, and grow with intention.
All right. So, people, as I mentioned, it's going to be a little different in terms of my questions because normally the questions are, of course, I ask people about their journey, asking them about their business. But what I have done this time is these questions were inspired by my book, The Edupreneur. And so these questions are coming from specific chapters in my book. Oh, a little different than what I have done before. So when you hear me reference my book, that is the reason why. So don't forget to go out there and pick up The Edupreneur. By the way, it's dope. Don't take a word for it. Go to Amazon and check out the reviews for yourself. Go get a copy. So I'm always curious as to how people got to where they are. What did you think you were doing before you were growing up? And how did you, Michal, get to where you got to where you are now?
Thank you so much for asking, and thank you for making this totally different and bringing up your book. I just have to start by saying that, and I can't wait to continue diving into it because I need all the help I can get. So, for a long time, I just followed the traditional path. I worked at an organization for 15 years, and I was good at what I did. I led programs, built relationships, and I made an impact. But the truth is, I stayed behind the scenes. I'm an introvert, so I often played small because that just felt safer. And then I was laid off. And I suddenly found myself without a job, without a plan, and with a family to take care of. So I had to figure out a way to make money, and at the time, I didn't really see the value in that loss. I just felt unanchored. But looking back, that moment gave me the permission to ask a different question. What do I really want? And if I hadn't been laid off, I probably would have stayed in the same place, working for someone else, quietly doing great work, but not fully living in my purpose. So that moment forced me to shift. It gave me the opportunity to step into the unknown and realize that I could make money doing what I enjoy with more freedom, more alignment, and more impact. And I know I'm not alone in that because so many people right now are walking through layoffs, reinvention, and career pivots, especially in this financial climate where everything feels more competitive, rights are being stripped, and DEI work is being defunded. That's a whole totally different conversation. But Many of us are realizing that we need financial independence, not just security, and that we need to build something for ourselves, even while working a 9 to 5. So we're in a moment of collective reckoning. We're waking up to how much we've been taught to wait for permission, especially culturally. So many of us have internalized messages like stay humble, don't rock the boat, or be grateful you have a seat. And now we're unlearning those beliefs and learning to take up space. So this is a long-winded answer to your question. The truth is, this path is not easy. And I've had to be really intentional about staying grounded. Some of the things that I've turned to again and again are, journaling, hypnosis, affirmations, and building in and these moments of reflection. I also lean on community, people who remind me who I am when I forget. I hold myself accountable and I show up consistently, even when I'm tired or unsure. And most importantly, I keep stretching outside of my comfort zone because I know that's where growth lives. So, no, I don't have it all figured out, but I'm learning as I go. And I'm borrowing courage from those walking this path with me and discovering more about who I am and what I'm capable of. And that alone feels like a revolution.
But in the entrepreneur, I talk about shifting your mindset from an employee to the CEO. What does that mindset look like, or what did that mindset look like for you?
Oof, that's a great question. That shift was deeply personal for me. It started with grief, grieving my role, my routine, my sense of security. Then it became curiosity. I asked myself, what if I stop waiting until I feel ready? What if I take the leap even when I'm scared and I don't have it all figured out? So one day, someone asked me if I was consulting. I hadn't planned on it, but I said yes. And that single yes launched M.Tapia Consulting. And ever since, I've been building the plane while flying it. That's literally how it feels. So the mindset shift was moving from following someone else's vision to creating my own. And I think that's powerful. I'm still learning how to own the title of CEO, but now I walk with more intention and self-trust.
So one of the themes in my book is about showing up as you are. You're owning your whole self. How would you describe your brand, and how does your identity show up in the work you do?
Oh, I love that question. And this hasn't always been easy, Dr. Will. My brand is rooted in authenticity, emotional intelligence, and courage. As a Dominican American woman, daughter of immigrants, and a mom of three, my identity is woven into every single aspect of my work. I don't separate who I am from what I do. I think it's my lens, my foundation, and my why. My lived experience allows me to hold space for others navigating systems not built for them. So I don't want to assimilate anymore or shrink to fit into spaces that were never designed with me in mind. What I want to do is I want to continue showing up as me, imperfectly me, and learning how to feel comfortable being fully myself, even in spaces where I may be the only one. I also know how powerful representation is. Growing up, I didn't often see leaders who looked like me or shared my story. So now part of my mission is to be the representation I needed and that so many still need to see.
Okay. Now, since you say that, I'm going to go somewhere with you with a question that is not on this page. Okay, here we go. You mentioned not seeing representation, but as I am looking at you and you say you are Dominican, you say you are Latina, but I am looking at you and I see someone who looks like somebody in my family. So you get where I'm coming from when I ask you this question. When you are thinking of yourself from that lens, and I don't even know how you think of yourself in that way. Is it, I've heard the term Afro-Latina or terms of that nature. I'm trying to get this out. Because when you mentioned that, I'm thinking representation. I'm like, okay, so when you see people who are in spaces, maybe they look like you, but they don't sound like you, or maybe they don't have your last name. Is that representation different for you?
Yeah, and I think that's a great question, Dr. Will. And I love that you said, hey, she looks like she's part of my family. Uh, I think identity is very complicated and it's very intersectional. Like you said, my identity has shifted as I, have grown as an individual in my career, professionally, personally. I show up in spaces where there's a diversity within the Latina population, and maybe other Latinas that are sitting in the same space don't look like me. Like you said, I'm Latina, I'm Afro Latina, right? I'm a woman of color. So many different identities can impact the way that we show up and the way that we perceive things, even opening my mouth, when you look at me, you may think, oh, she can be, an Afro-American woman. A lot of people are like, oh, she could be Indian, or, she can be so many different things. But it's my lived experience, right, that makes me who I am and how I showed up. And as soon as I open my mouth, you might say, hey, I hear an accent there. I'm bilingual. So when I say I grew up not seeing the representation that I needed, I mean by that, even at home, right? Like I come from immigrant parents whose first language was Spanish, and I was the first of many things, right? The first that went to college, the first one that got a professional career. So I didn't really have the support because they didn't understand that world. I was one of the only women of color when I started, working in an organization. And not only the first woman of color, but also the first Latina in a lot of spaces. So I'm not sure if that answers your question directly, but there's so much when it comes to identity and intersectionality and how we show up and also how we are received by others.
Excellent, excellent. So your content is personal, and I have read things you've posted on LinkedIn and watched videos. And looking at that, were you intentional in doing so? And how has doing that been a part of developing your message and your audience?
Yes, first off, thank you for listening and tuning in and, being present and supporting me. Honestly, it started from a place of reflection and necessity. I was navigating so much personally and professionally, and sharing became a form of connection for me. I didn't map out a brand strategy. I just began writing from the heart. I started writing about loss, transition, cultural identity, and rising after uncertainty, right? Like everything that I was going through. And that openness resonated deeply, not just with Latinas or first gens, but with women across all backgrounds, with middle managers trying to lead authentically, students feeling overwhelmed, leaders searching for meaning, and people who feel invisible, uncertain, isolated, or stuck, both in their careers and personal lives. So I write for them, and for me, it's like an outlet. I show up for the ones quietly struggling to figure out who they are, where they belong, and how to move forward. And I don't create content just for algorithms. I create it to build community.
So everyone has to sell something, because we're not out here just on social media to just be on social media. What are some of the services or products you've created, and which have been the most impactful for you and your clients?
I love that question too. So I offer leadership development workshops. I do psychological safety work and audits. I do team facilitation and one-on-one partnership. I don't like to call myself a coach. I like to call myself a thought partner because I like to walk alongside folks and use my lived experience to ask questions and, walk with them through their journeys. But the most impactful thing I provide is space where people can reflect and be honest and feel safe to be seen. So I've worked with teams that for the first time had the language teams and individual that for the first time had language to talk about what wasn't working. And those are the moments that matter. I just don't deliver, services. I help people feel like their work matters. So leadership workshops, one-on-one consulting, team facilitation, keynote speakers, and honestly, anything that comes my way that aligns with my values.
Oh, all right. So we know in this digital first, mobile first world, especially with these devices, visibility is currency. What are you doing to get your brand in front of the right people?
Yes, 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 to visibility is currency. Visibility hasn't always come natural to me. Okay. It's been really hard. I used to think that doing work quietly was enough. But now I know that being visible, especially as a Latina entrepreneur, is a form of resistance and representation. So I've been showing up where it feels aligned. I've been on these LinkedIn streets in speaking engagements. I also have a newsletter, which is the Courage Connection, which is, something I put out there as well. And by saying yes, even when I feel nervous, I'm putting myself out there. Again, I don't have a polished PR strategy, but I have purpose. I have a purpose and I'm consistent in how I share it and how I show up. And the truth is, I've been building my brand long before I ever called it that. Without even realizing it, I was laying the foundation while I was still working full time, right? Through my work ethic, the relationships I was building, the way I showed up for people. And that trust followed me. And once I started putting myself out there, people I worked with in the past began reaching out, asking if I was consulting, inviting me to collaborate and cheering me on. So even though visibility feels new, it's really an extension of the values and reputation that I've carried with me all along.
So in the Entrepreneur, I write about transformation over transaction. What does being purpose driven mean to you?
Oof. I also love that question. Transformation. Yes, I consider myself a transformational leader. So being purpose driven means leading with heart for me, not just hustle, although, we're hustlers. We got to put some of that in. It means showing up with integrity, especially when no one's watching. It means remembering that I didn't build this business just for income. I also built it for impact. So it's about creating systems where people, especially those who've been historically overlooked, can thrive and not just survive. I want people to see possibilities and who they are and what they can do, not just limitations or barriers. So for me, it's just deeply personal. And I remind myself often, like, this isn't just work, McCall. It's a legacy that you're building.
How are you building a legacy with building profit, right? Because we can't, as much as we love our mission, and every company, every organization has a mission statement, has a set of values. You can't pay your mortgage with them. How are you looking at your mission while still trying to be profitable?
Yeah, I think that's a great question and it's very loaded. I mean, like, I think that I can do both. I can continue fulfilling my mission and making a profit doing the things that I believe in. So, putting myself out there and being open to endless possibilities, right? Like, first of all, DEI, there's so much there. I mean, it's not stopping. I think that now we need it more than ever. Now the work that we're doing, even though, people are not calling it necessarily the same thing, it's needed now more than ever. People need community, right? People need to feel a sense of security. People still need professional development. People still need a lot of these services. So by just putting myself out there and building the network and making connections, I am allowing myself to continue living my purpose and also making a profit. Honestly, I am going now into, opening the limits. Before I started just doing work with nonprofit. Now I'm looking at the education world. I am looking for the for-profit world and bringing the message that needs to be brought to so many organizations, regardless whether they're nonprofit or not. I feel like, especially these for-profit organizations and people that don't have representation need me to come in more than ever to deliver the message. That's a short way of answering your question. It's so important what you're bringing up.
That's all right. So before we go, what is next for you? Because, I have been doing a lot of thinking about that even for myself. I did a lot of tech consulting and I enjoyed the money. I really did. But I started to see a shift in the work that I was doing, and I didn't care for it. I having school administrators not knowing what they doing, or school superintendents not knowing what they doing either. And speaking with other people who do what I do or do what I have done, the pushback, the lack of forward movement, the lack of people seeing not only the value in it, but understanding the why behind it is frustrating.
I hear you.
It's time to make a comeback in this new pivot. And there are a couple of things that I'm looking at and doing that. And so in that time I took off, I wrote a book, but it was just me thinking, how do I, do X, Y, how do I make this pivot? How do I make something different? Because I do know that this over here is frustrating because I love it. I believe in it. I live it. I drink it. And then when you're brought in and you're thinking you're being brought in to do something awesome because someone are paying you to do it. And then to have people who don't want to be bothered, it's like, wow, okay. Is this how we doing it now?
There's so many limitations and barriers in order to make that impact. I hear you.
So
And the more you try and the more you are aware of this, right? The more you don't want to put yourself in those type of situations, It's like, what's the point?
Yeah. So that just made me, reevaluate what is going to be next for me. And I have a couple of things in mind as you are thinking about where you would like for your company to go in the future. What is next for you in your entrepreneurial journey?
I love that question because I feel like I'm constantly figuring that out. I'm still figuring that out. I'm constantly on the journey. It's never ending. So first, I'm finishing my doctorate. Let's manifest that I'm gonna be Dr. McCall next year, Dr. Will, when I defend my dissertation, and it's focused on psychological safety for Latina professionals. And that research is already shaping the future of my consulting work. I'm creating tools and frameworks and spaces that help organizations become places of real belonging. I'm also looking for partnerships and sponsorships to expand the reach of this work. And I'm continuing my journey as a lifelong learner because growth doesn't stop with a title or a degree. And I want to keep sharing what I learn. I want to continue amplifying other voices and building communities where courage, connection, and transformation are possible. So, like I said, I don't have all the answers, but I am definitely rooted in purpose. And I trust that that's more than enough.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, McCall, for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Dr. Will. This is a huge milestone, and I'm glad that we are walking on this journey together. And I can wait to continue diving into your Edupreneur book that has so many gems and resources that people like me need.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Now, people, you know how I do this. This podcast episode is going to be on wherever you listen to your podcast. But it's going to be on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Simplecast, Spotify, and Audible. And though you can find it anywhere, I'm trying to really grow on Apple Podcasts. So share it with the colleagues, share it with your friends, share it with your family members, with anybody, even on a stranger. If you're on the subway somewhere, say, hey, have you checked out this podcast? Just get it out there. And they check it out if you're listening to it or not. So don't just cut it on, listen to a couple seconds. Really listen to the episode. Give me some stars, give me some reviews, because your boy's trying to be found, because I'm trying to get Oprah on the show, because I want her to know that we're doing big things around here, because I do want Oprah to bring me on and give me my own show. Bless me, Oprah. Do it, Oprah.
Yes.
Make me part of Oprah and Friends. Hook me up. So again, I'd like to thank my guest, Michal Tapia, for coming on and dropping so many gems. So for you, for checking out another episode of the Dr. Will Show, now in season 11. As always, people, invest in you, eat you. Peace.